Hello and welcome to Take Time. I'm your host, Patrick Marlett, and today we're going to talk about what's inside this bubble mailer. And this bubble mailer got a little dirty on its journey to my home, but I'm so happy it's here. If you read the title of this video, you'll know that inside this bubble mail package is the new Zelos Horizons, plural Horizons, GMT. And what's interesting about this unboxing and first impression, unlike any of the other ones I've done on the show, is that I have no idea what is inside this packaging. I did have a request for the team as to which unit I would like to review, but as of filming this, the availability of this product is scant, which is something I want to touch on before we begin the video today. This is of course a part 1 unboxing and first impression, and like my other unboxings in the past, I have encouraged you to ask me any questions, comments, or concerns about the item before it officially releases or becomes available to you so that you can make the best judgment as to whether it's the right product for you. Now, unsurprisingly, the Horizons has been one of Zelos's most popular offerings to date, with launch prices starting at $649. I believe the full retail price of the stainless steel unit Sans Meteorite dial will be $849, and that price is available until May 19th, so these have been flying off their shelves. That's why it was difficult for me to get this unit in at all. So moreover, any unboxing and first impression of the past, I will encourage you again to ask me any of those questions, comments, or concerns that you may have about the product to help you better assess whether you should pick up this item, of course, within that launch special pricing. However, if you want to wait for the official review of the Zelos Horizons GMT, I'll encourage you to do so. It should release within that launch special pricing window, though availabilities may vary at that point. Lastly, before we get underway, I want you all to know that this product was indeed gifted to the channel, so you can take my opinions however you choose. A special thanks goes out to Hill and the team over at Zelos for getting this out to me as soon as they could. Whichever unit it might be, I'm excited to check this one out. All right, I think I'm gonna leave my handy knife off to the side for now, as we don't need it because of the easy pull tab provided here. Any of you have a strict everyday carry, a pair of knives you like to walk around with? Does this ruin the fun for you? Let me know. Would you have knifed this bag open anyways? At any rate, here we have the Zelos Horizon box. Let's pull this out. Okay, so we're not quite there yet. Maybe I will need the knife. I might just take this off camera so I can get a better look at the packaging here. Yes, we will need the knife. So let's go ahead and I'll run this right down the side, trying not to cut the product on the inside. I'm sure you guys are questioning my knife form here. It's difficult when you have a camera and a microphone between you and the box, but here we are. This is officially a Horizon packaging. And I really like how this was shipped, that extra box for extra protection. And if I'm not mistaken, this is exactly how you will receive the watch should you decide to get on the launch special pricing and or purchase this at wholesale later on. All right, let's go ahead and move that outer sleeve off of the box itself. There we go. And let's see how badly this got jumbled up in transit. If at all. Ooh, not at all. So this is very similar to what we received with some previous Zelos in the past. Really nice display box, although I feel like this is of slightly better quality than in the past. I don't remember it being magnetized like this. So that's actually really nifty. I don't often use these display boxes outside of holding the accessories for my watches, the watches that came with the obviously holding. But this box is really nice. I might actually use this for something else. And let's take the roll out, move the box to the side. Nice. It is at this point that I should state you should receive a leather watch roll similar to this one here, a Tropic rubber strap, Horween leather strap, warranty card, and of course the wooden gift box you saw off to the side with any purchase of a Zelos Horizon. So you're getting a real nice kit for $649. And of course, if you're wondering, the GMT inside this unit is an ETA 2893, and we've seen that on the show in the past. Of course, we're getting a really good deal on it here. Let's go ahead and roll this out. And let's take a look at some of our accessories first before we get to the watch head. Exactly as I've stated, we have that steel warranty card. You can see which number mine is. Help yourself to that. We'll put that away. This is definitely an update to what I've seen in the past. If I'm not mistaken, I really do dig that look. Let's go tuck that back in where it was. And as you know, I'm a big fan of the Horween leather straps they provide with these. That gives you guys a closer look of this strap. All right, this leather strap is interesting on two accounts. Now, unlike the Zelos watches I've received in the past, where the additional accessory came without a buckle, you'll notice that I received one here with my Horween leather strap option. I really love that. So we have a buckle that is equipped to our Tropic rubber strap, I should say, attached to our watch head over here, which we'll get to in just a second. But you'll also notice that the leather option comes with its own buckle. How nice that they're doing that now. It's something that I feel like many of us have argued for, and well, they've made the change. So thank you for providing a buckle with the additional accessory. Also note, this is in fact a Horween leather strap, but you'll notice the sides have gone unfinished. And you know, I'm not a leather strap nut. I'm not quite sure how that is accomplished, but from the imagery on their website, it appears as though the ends are finished differently than this. This has a raw texture to the sides. It's unlike what I received from my Ergon, which is also made from the same creative minds as Zelos. The Horween leather strap I received with that came with finished ends that were sort of blackened across the entire edge, leading up to the tail end here, and of course all the way back around to the other side. This seems to have gone unfinished. I don't know if that's ultimately what you will receive or just how this leather strap was shipped to me, but it is different from what you'll see on their website. At least the meteorite dial option I'm seeing from their site has a Horween leather strap similar to this, but with finished sides. Now, is that an issue? Well, time will tell. I'm not really a leather strap aficionado. I don't know if there is a major difference between these sides being finished or unfinished on here. Is this going to come undone easily? Or, is it going to wear down more quickly than a strap that has those finished ends? I can't tell you that. If you happen to know, let us know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But that's not such a big issue for me. What I'm more interested in seeing is whether the Tropic strap also comes with a quick release pin. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the horizons we received. Now, the reason I was concerned as to whether the Tropic rubber strap came with quick release pins is because you'll notice our leather watch roll in the background here doesn't feature a watch tool of any variety. So there's no great way to remove this strap unless you own a tool yourself. So, bear that in mind if you're purchasing into this product. It would have been good if that came with a quick release pin in it as well. And you'll notice on the back, the 2893 has a custom rotor, a gold-plated custom rotor. I'm assuming the name Horizons comes from the idea that you will be traveling and seeing many horizons with this GMT. I actually really do like the name, and without further ado, why don't we take in the dial option we received. That is pretty handsome. As I know you hate when I leave the plastic wrappings on these unboxed products for too long, I've gone ahead and removed that plastic wrap off of the boxed sapphire crystal here so we can take in that dial just a little bit better. And it's interesting, but the thing that caught my attention most when I saw this product revealed was that gorgeous bezel. So it's a bidirectional 60-click bezel, which I'll play with in just a second. It's mounted on ball bearings with a sapphire insert. And of course, the insert itself is different on some of the other options. If you're looking over the dial options on their website, you'll notice the green one actually features a ceramic insert. But in case you were wondering, this is actually the unit I was hoping to take in, so I'm so thankful that they were able to send this one my way. The sapphire insert really caught my eye. I really love how it's been executed here. I've noticed with other manufacturers and other brands, oftentimes when that insert is aligned with the bezel, it tends to poke out of the bezel, and that's just an unappealing look to me. They've managed to make that sapphire insert flush with the top of the bezel, and that's a look I much prefer. I don't want any, added dimension to the watch based off of the bezel insert, and what they've accomplished here is really lovely. And I also like how the boxed sapphire doesn't protrude too far from the case as well. And because of that, it actually rests at a neat 12 millimeters thick. And of course, I'm going to go over all these measurements and specifics in our part 2 video, but in case you're wondering, the case itself is 40 millimeters in diameter. It features 20 millimeter lug width, so both our tropic strap and our leather option in the back are 20 millimeters in width. We have a 45 millimeter length from lug end to lug end, and of course, again, that 12 millimeter thickness. Now, scale is one of those things that Zelos has always had a funny time with. They don't seem to adhere to any conventions on how a watch should be sized. The dimensions from their hammerhead to their swordfish are all radically different, and of course, that's based off of their water resistances, their movement options. There's a variety of factors that go into it, but until this date, I've yet to see a watch released from them that is within what I'd consider a perfect scale for most wrists. This 40 millimeter diameter, 12 millimeter thickness, and the lug-to-lug distance here should work really well on most all wrists. So, props for making a watch that is really usable for most wrist sizes. So far as a first impression is concerned, I have to say the scale of this piece is really perfection. Just in the hand, I cannot wait to have it on the wrist. And of course, we'll get in a quick wrist shot for you. But this is really the ideal watch size for me. It feels in hand similar to what a Seiko Alpinist might feel like if you own a Seiko Alpinist, or it's very similar to my Grand Seiko, though that is just a millimeter thinner in diameter. I like the short lug-to-lug range. I like when a watch fits squarely on the wrist and doesn't pour off the side. So the shorter ears on these lugs, I really do prefer. Now, of course, we're going to go over what the loom looks like ultimately in our part 2 video, but in case you're wondering, it comes with a textured C3X1 Swiss Superluminova on the handset and dial. Of course, we have a date display over at the 6 o'clock. It's nice and well balanced with the rest of this dial, and it's gone unframed, and I have to say, I actually quite like how they've executed the date display here. Initially, I was thinking it would look really good with a framed window around it, but something about this look it feels less cluttered. Actually really nice how they've managed to accomplish that here. Of course, we have the GMT and water resistance rating down at the bottom in a dark red to match that of the red of our internal 24-hour scale. And similar to our recent Mantra review, the Atlas, you'll notice the GMT hand is actually a different tone of red than that of the dial and that Rehat. I'm wondering if this is a standard thing, or is it just hard to get that color pair to match? It doesn't necessarily bother me, but it does stand out just a little bit more than the color tone, the saturation of that red on the dial and the 24-hour scale. Just nitpicking here. I don't think those things need to be similar, but it does punch out just a little bit more on the hand, and I kind of prefer that tone. So let's go ahead and start winding this guy up, and it's actually gone ahead and started on its own, but in that 0 position, once you've unscrewed the crown, this is a screw-in crown at the 3 o'clock position, you can go ahead and wind this guy up, just like any other ETA 2893. And let me go ahead and showcase how the GMT hand functions. So if we rotate this counterclockwise, you'll notice that our date changes down there. Now, if we rotate it the other way, clockwise, you'll notice that our GMT hand skips. Now, I know that there's a preference for some to have the local time, or that local hour hand be the one that jumps, but that's just how the 2893 functions. Now, personally, I'm not much of a traveler or world traveler. I do travel about the country every so often to visit family, but I've never had the need to track this many time zones, so it should be interesting to see how those of you who do travel often find this to function for them. I think that this is certainly adequate for those that want to track at least a secondary time zone, perhaps keep that GMT hand as a 24-hour scale, and use the bezel instead to track a separate local time for a family member. But let's go ahead and check out that 60-click bezel. It's actually really nice, snappy. It's got a little bit of play when it's at rest, but for some that might actually be acceptable, because sometimes there are variances in the execution of these bezels, and rather how the inserts are aligned and things of that nature. So, what I'm trying to say is sometimes it might not always align where you want it to. So having just a little bit of play to get it straight is actually nice and perfectly acceptable in my book. Again, this is a sub at this point, a sub, $700 watch. It's actually a really good deal for what you're getting here. I love the fact that this is bidirectional and really easy to turn with a single hand. It doesn't really require much effort to get that going, but I doubt it will move should it bang up against anything either. I quite like that. I just love the two-tone finish of that deep blue and white insert. It just looks so handsome against that dial. And speaking of style cues, I have to say that this is easily my favorite looking Zelos to date. If you have a model that you prefer, let me know which Zelos that is, but of all the models I've seen as of recently, this is definitely the one, in my opinion, that takes the cake. It just looks absolutely stunning, and I'm actually just a big fan of the enlarged triangles at the 12, 3, 6, 9, however, said company decides to do it. Similar to like my Helson here, I'm actually a big fan of those triangles. It's just easier for me to distinguish where the hands are in alignment with those, and obviously in opposition to those dots that line the watch. And of course here we have those applied batons instead, and we have baton-like hands as well to match those markers in between. It's a really, really great look. The length of the minute hand, we'll see how I feel about that later on. It is rather wide, and it does cover up a lot of the minutes, so being precise with what time it is may be difficult. I'm assuming it's just how I see it through the camera lens right now, or see it through my monitor. It's a little difficult to read on what minute we're resting on, but let me know if that's an issue for you. If you happen to purchase one, it'd be great to have that kind of info in the comment section for folks that are also interested in the horizons here. However, everything else is really handsome on this piece, and I'm just taking it in now. This is more of an orange, that GMT hand. It's less red, more orange. It is, again, just a little difficult to pick up on through my camera lens here, but I think it's certainly an orange as opposed to the red of the dial and Rehod. But just remarking on the handset here again, I actually really love the hour hand's length and that second hand, by the way. I love how the lume is applied, particularly as it passes over those triangles. That lume plot never, crosses over the threshold of those markers. So the way they line is really, really nice. And I'm assuming when it's dark out, it's going to look lovely too when those the seconds pass. But let's go ahead and get a wrist shot for you guys so you can take this in and see what it might look like on your wrist. And here is the Zelos Horizon on my 7¼ inch wrist. And you can see what I mean with the scaling there. It's just perfect. I love when a watch fits just squarely on the wrist like that. No overhang with the lugs. This is just the right look for me. And in case you're wondering, the watch head itself, it's not being sold with it yet, but if you are a bracelet fan like myself, it's to my understanding that they're going to be finishing up a bracelet for these units, a matching bracelet, within the next 2 to 3 months. That's going to be available for purchase separately. I don't know if that is ultimately going to be bundled with this package for as long as they decide to make this model, but it is to my understanding that a bracelet for this unit will be releasing shortly after this initial launch period. So if you're a fan of bracelets, you'll be able to get one a little bit later on. I'm actually really curious as to how that's going to look in tandem with the watch head. The styling of this case is absolutely stunning. And obviously the finishing as well. I've never had complaints with Zelos's detailing in the past, but I'll have to say that, however they're handling their production now, this is just far exceeding my expectations of a watch within this price range. I really do love the cuts and angles on this case. It's just a very, very handsome look. And that bezel itself, it's easy to grip, really large. I like how it's segmented. You'll notice that there's this coin edge followed by these brushed surfaces right where the white and blue intercept one another. Let's see if it's at there it is. And it's also at the, what would be the 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock position ultimately if this is at rest. But I really do like that look and feel on the hands. They really thought about, well, everything with this design, and the crown is really nice and grippable as well. I'm glad they went without crown guards on this, by the way. Despite touting its water resistance and even providing later on at least a bracelet with a diving extension, they went without crown guards. Very old school. I like that look. And I'm not usually a fan of crown guards on my diving watches, I have to say. It has to be executed in a way that matches the case. Much like my Helson that I just showcased earlier, I like how that's done, but I usually prefer to go without, so I'm glad they've gone without here. Now, I knew before this watch came in that I was going to like it, but I didn't realize just how much. I have to say that, to me, this is definitely Zelos's most handsome design to date. Hands down, this case is absolutely stunning. The execution of the dial, the bezel, the matched handsets, and I just cannot wait to see the bracelet they come out with next. This is really an excellent package. The only thing I could recommend is them throwing in a spring bar tool, ultimately for you consumers, once you pick up this package, so you can more easily, more readily remove this Tropic rubber strap. So you can switch it out for that Horween or whatever accessory you happen to own. And on that note, man, I don't even know what I want to pair this with. Honestly, I think this would look really well on that Horween leather option. Of course, if you follow me over on Instagram, you're likely going to see this watch on that strap, within a few hours of this video releasing. But again, this is just an unboxing and first impression. I'll reserve my final verdict and my thoughts on this piece for the review segment to come next week. And before that, again, if you have any questions, you're always more than welcome to ask them here or over on my Instagram. I am usually fairly active in responding within a 24-hour frame. If you guys were also interested in acquiring one of these, I'll of course give you my thoughts day to day on it. But so far, my gosh, even a lot of the larger brands don't get this right. If I have a 24 or 12-hour bezel, even if it's a dive watch, I will prefer that it goes bidirectional. If I really needed to use this mechanism here, this decoration here, to time something, I'll get a dive watch. That's why those exist. If you're going to give me something that's meant to track multiple time zones, make it convenient. Not to say that it's horribly inconvenient to turn it only one direction. I'm just saying that it's better this way. This feels more natural, and I love how it's done here. At any rate, those are just my initial thoughts on the Zelos Horizon. Of course, if you want to read up on this piece, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can check out the Horizon and all of its color variations, as well as all of the details and the inspiration going into the design of this watch. They always do a great job with their breakdowns. A lot of folks neglect certain measurements or neglect specifics about the watch, but you'll get pretty much everything you need to know from Zelos's website on this new item. Of course, again, feel free to ask me any questions in regards to this piece before the official review. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that like button. It looks almost too similar to this. If you have friends, forums, or groups that are interested in picking up the Horizons, feel free to send this video to them first so they can go ahead and ask another consumer his thoughts on the piece, of course, before making the buy. Again, I'm uncertain on the availabilities moving forward. They don't give me that information, but it's my understanding that all of the color options as of filming this are still available, so that's fortunate. It seemed as though they were going to make different cases as well for these. I feel like I saw an announcement where they discussed making a bronze variant. I don't know too much about that, but if you're holding tight for a bronze version of this watch, I have no idea when that's releasing or if that's releasing. And also, just a little word of advice for those that are Facebookers. It's to my understanding, and I never use Facebook, so I wouldn't know this otherwise, but it's to my understanding that if you happen to be a part of their Facebook group, they do make limited releases every now and then for certain models. So if you happen to follow them on Facebook, there may be a model just for you. Now, other than that, If you want to join the family here, I'll encourage you to hit that subscribe button for all of the secrets, all the secret leaks on the watches releasing, and of course, my thoughts and review, and hopefully down the road, more interviews. I know you've been asking for it. I've been wanting to do more of them. Hopefully I'll have the time to do more of them. But if you want to join the family here, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below. And of course, my name is Patrick Marlett. Thank you for joining me on Take Time today, and thank you for the time.